All right, let's talk about reciprocity as a foundation, as a moral foundation, as the moral foundation. We discussed elsewhere that organisms need to seek asymmetrical benefit to survive, which leads into the circumstance that we tend to protect that which we invest in. And what gives rise between people is an imposition against all the forms in which we invest in to seek a benefit. So what we call property in total, property in all of its forms. So if we look at predation, parasitism, and cooperation, and we see the circumstances of which give rise to conflict is when people impose upon the investment of others. How do we avoid conflict then? And this is where a notion like tit for tat comes in. If we're to trade or transact, we need to fill in the loss of investment from the other person in the transaction. So if we'll use the club again, I have my club and you have your spear and we're going to trade. I have an investment in my club. I like my club. I have a history with the club. I'm kind of proud of my club. And you feel the same way about your spear. But you might be, I don't know, cracking coconuts, and the spear is not very good for that. And I might be impaling boars. So I might see more value in your spear than my club. So we might initiate, and vice versa. So we might initiate in a trade. But in doing so, I need to see more value in your spear compared to the costs, the investment, and the benefit that I see in my club, and vice versa. So when the trade occurs, we're not just trading benefits. We're also filling in the loss of the investment that we had in those objects in the first place. That's what creates reciprocity. The reciprocity is the foundation for those transactions to happen without causing resentments that lead into conflict. And that really what predation is a non-reciprocal relationship, a non-reciprocal transaction where I take your stuff and eat your flesh, which kind of sucks because you spent your life building up that flesh and you want to stay alive. So it's taking the life's work of one animal to the benefit of another animal, where a predator increases their risk but reduces the time of cost and investment in acquiring calories. They kill another animal. Where parasitism seeks asymmetrical benefits through non-reciprocity by sort of latching on to the productive investments of one organism for them to reap the benefit. And in both cases, this is undesirable, especially within social animals. So natural law really breaks down to this. Organisms seek asymmetrical benefit. They tend to defend when investments in asymmetrical benefit have been infringed upon. It gives rise to conflict. So the first part of that is asymmetrical benefit is written into nature. The instinct to defend one's life and one's investment is written into us, into nature. So natural law in a propertarian context is that given those two sort of axioms, those two presuppositions, how can humans use natural law to their own benefit? Well, being social animals and being cooperative animals, it's in our best interest as not only individuals but as species to cooperate, because cooperation affords us the greatest asymmetrical benefits out of the three available survival strategies. So we can take the laws of nature, the need for asymmetrical benefits, and what causes defense in preserving those benefits. And we can put that into human laws and say, okay, predation is a downward spiral. Parasitism is a spiral towards conflict. And then that breaks down the circumstances for cooperation. So how do we maintain the conditions of cooperation when there will always be incentives for people to seek lower cost means of acquiring asymmetrical benefits? In other words, there will always be incentives for people, either by predilection or by circumstance, to steal and kill. Well, we write laws, which is essentially just to say a criteria of decidability on when we're going to use violence to prevent a particular set of behaviors. So the foundation for those laws, that means of decidability of using violence to control behavior, if it's based on natural or the laws of nature, then what we have is a legal system based in nature, i.e. natural law. Now, the extension to that is, we've already talked about property, we've talked a little bit about reciprocity. That if we're going to have these laws, which again, is just a means of calculating when we're going to prosecute or not, and the prosecution is based on conflict, so it's essentially a means of calculating conflict. If we're going to have these laws, and they're going to be based on reciprocity, because reciprocity is the criteria that ensures we don't venture into parasitic or predatory behavior. How do we calculate reciprocity? Well, we calculate reciprocity off of property, and that property is the demonstrated investment of a person into anything, into seeking an asymmetrical benefit. So from there, you can have people that are making claim to a property but have never demonstrated an investment. In that case, they would be engaging in a parasitic behavior. Or you can have people that are not making an adequate investment, say for instance a theft, that is imposing costs on others, which would spark retaliation. So at the end of the day, what laws are really about is preventing retaliation between in-group members. And if we want to prevent retaliation between in-group members, then we need to not tolerate predatory or parasitic behavior. Reciprocity, the natural law of reciprocity and proportionality, which means that the reciprocation has to be within proportion, becomes the means in which we can live together. Then property becomes the means in which we calculate reciprocity.